That's okay.
All right.
I know much like that.
Oh, so you didn't want to sit next to you. Oh, that hurts.
I see.
Yeah. Preparing to make the last things very. Yeah.
Oh, that's. But you also go to a bunch of things, I'm sure it's president, where they're just like, here's a whole gun.
Yeah.
That's my child, because I have no idea who they're attitudes.
Oh, yeah.
So they become like.
Right, they just end up in this like, right, and then the kids like, snap, and like, just take your there, yeah. What?
Let me know when you guys are ready.
I think we're ready.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let's start this morning with another round of introductions. We've got a new team member on our side of the table, and Ms. Wallace is able to join us this time, so we'll let you all go first.
Sorry, Eric Hoyt, teacher at Spiegel West.
Gary Livingston, culinary arts instructor right here in this building. NEA.
Pauline Kessler, music at Ross. Debbie Gilbertson, green teacher at Mount Harvard. David Mender, ELA teacher at TPS. Brenda Blackman, I run the basic program at Robinson Middle School.
Don Whiteman, General Counsel.
And Pam Stranathan, the Executive Director of Operations on the new LR. Is that, am I saying that right?
Billy Wallace, Assistant Superintendent.
Sarah Sharp, Assistant Superintendent, Early Childhood Elementary Support Services.
Gary Menke, Executive Director, CSO.
Jessica Williams, General Director of Human Resources.
All right, Brenda, I thought I would give just like a quick little rundown on what we have accomplished so far, just make sure we're all on the same page. We have TA'd Article 30, adjusting the language, particularly around the tutoring rate, $25 an hour district curriculum work, $15 an hour for the extracurricular work around athletics in particular. Then adjusting the PD pay for $30 for a half day, 60 for a full day. We TA'd Article 31 and added the language around the social workers being on that doctoral column. We are in progress on Article 36. We have made adjustments, adding unified sports. And I believe you all are going to have a request around PL teachers. And then I also had down that we were in progress on Article 38. You all were waiting to hear back from your.
We can TA that today.
Okay.
And then article, we proposed it as 19, but we moved it to 2. The business day definition.
Yes.
Did I give you a copy of 38 already? I have a whole stack of them, so I'm gonna guess Andrew's now.
Brenda, I think this looks good and looks like what we discussed. We'll discuss it briefly when we caucus and then. That's fine. I think that we are ready to hear the rest of your proposals. Gary had discussed, I think historically he had done, a pretty extensive review of the state of the budget and really feeling like that can be a condensed version to kind of just give a quick overview of where we're at fiscally, budget-wise this year, headwinds that we're facing, but nothing that needs to take a lot of time at the table.
Okay.
You want me to start? Is that my opening act? All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good Pastor Robert.
Well, those don't look small.
Yeah. What'd you say?
Small.
And you're all gonna be asleep in about 10 minutes.
But then in 12, you'll be done, right?
You're not gonna, and you're thinking it's gonna take that long for me to go to sleep, Mickey. And Gary, I could give you a PDF of this when you're done.
Sure, thank you.
I give you a signed copy of the autograph. Let's just start on the front page, I guess. So this is a chart that's pretty familiar, with the FTE and enrollment. And, you know, we've talked about this over the years, right? That continuous slide. Good news is you look at 24, 25, we've leveled out a little bit. 2024, some good news in there. We leveled out from that 11,532 to 11,603. And those are audited numbers. We're plugging in 11,652 for this year's budget. Know that we try to budget a little strong because we hate republishing the budget because republishing the budget takes weeks to do that. And you got to have a public hearing and people come and tell you what a great job you're doing at those. And so we try to avoid having to republish that budget if we can. So just pointing out that 8-year period, right, where we lost almost 2,000 kids, and we'll talk about that again. And because I've kind of reiterated every year that it's not like they're disappearing to these surrounding districts, because that might be the first thing they think about, right? And I'll show you a chart here or a table where I just don't see any empirical evidence, right, that they're sneaking out to Auburn, Washburn, or Silver Lake, or Shawnee Heights. So, you can make your own determinations where they're going. Maybe they're going to private schools, I don't know. But good news, for us is that, trend of this kind of decline has kind of tipped, last September, and Dr. Kip is, fairly confident we'll be able to, retain, some kids for this year. So leveling out, why is that important? We get paid by the kid, right? In that general fund. LOB's driven by the size of the general fund, plus we add some taxes to that. But good news here is, right, we'll start out with good news and I'll hit you with bad news on the last page. Go ahead, Gary.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
What do you think attributes to the leveling off of a student enrollment there? I mean, it seems, yeah, you can definitely see that it's not tanking as much as it has in the last, 7, 8 years. Do you
Right.
have any expectation that that's gonna continue to be steady or maybe incline, or what's your thought?
And I have, and I would let our Dr. Kip probably give a more, informed opinion about that. I would say that we're stabilizing that. I would see any growth. I just don't see new housing areas going up in our district, right? I mean, that would create that kind of growth, that family. Now, maybe when they get that, that complex built over there behind the water tower on Kansas Ave, what is that, 240, 250 family? That could help. That's why they do those things. That's always hopeful. But really, it impact, kids. We're gonna need more families, need to have more housing units. I suspect, right, those parents are gonna need jobs somewhere. So I'm thankful that we're leveled off, Gary, and honestly, today, and to even predict, some future growth. We all know, right? Families aren't growing, right? We're at the 4 or 5 kids. A lot of our young people, are interested in starting families, that's not the most, popular thing, right? People have different ideas what they want to do with their 20 to 30 range, rather than that used to be that real child rearing age for my generation. And it seems that philosophically, some of our offspring have rejected that for now anyway, unfortunately. But you know what? Good news is we're still here if that does change for them. But I would not see, if your question is, do I anticipate a reverse, a strong reverse of?
Well, I was just
Yeah.
kind of wondering if you had any inkling as to what has caused the stabilization, so
Yeah,
to speak.
part of it is honestly, our virtual program has been pretty strong. So we have, the virtual program has been really strong. And that's included in those numbers. And I would say, that coupled with,
We've seen an uptick in elementary.
some elementary, yeah.
Thank you.
That's a great question.
I just want to clarify that this chart does not include virtual though, according to.
Oh, yeah, you're right. This chart does not include virtual.
I just want to clarify.
Our overall numbers, though, are stronger when we look at the overall weighted. Thank you, Brett. You'll see, I'll show you here in a minute, our virtual numbers are pretty good. Any other questions on that page? Then let's turn over to that open page KSDE budget document. And this is just kind of a tabular form, a little more granular of what we were looking at in that line graph. At the bottom of that, you'll see our virtual state aid numbers in terms of audited 23, 24, 25. And then our estimates. So you can kind of see where our virtual numbers have been pretty strong. Because if you go back, to 2019, 2020, those are going to be in the under 100 kid range. So COVID kind of pushed kids into virtual and some of them stuck, but those numbers tend to remain pretty good. Top of the page, again, this is just a screenshot right out of the budget document we're working on. It gives you FTE excludes 4-year-old and at-risk and virtual as Miss Brenda pointed out. It gives you kind of a 9 or 10-year window there. Same numbers on the line. The granular piece comes in the center of that document where it really talks about the head count, right, which is different than FTE because we get paid on FTE. We count belly buttons, but we get paid on FTE. And then the weightings, 4-year-old at risk, hovering right around that 234. We're budgeting 246, budgeting up a little bit. Remember, that's 0.5 of the actual number of kids that we get in that 4-year-old at risk. The 3 and 4-year-old at risk, we get 0.5. So that number is 480 plus actual kids, actual belly button. Eligible students qualify for free meals. You can see. And that really drives our at-risk funding. That's 25, almost $26 million in the general fund. And then with our proportionate share transfer out of the LOB, another $6 million. It's $31 million worth of funding to the district. But you can see number of kids qualify for free meals is how the state calculates in the funding formula our at-risk weighted FTE. We get 0.484 for each one of those folks that qualify for free lunch. And that has been an area that has been a little contentious. We've had some legislative post audit. You may have seen in the paper, right? There's some folks questioning whether those high numbers in some of the districts are real, right? Are there really that many kids qualified for that free lunch program? And for sure that they're, you know it, we know it. They changed the rules. Last year we got nicked a little bit because we didn't do some required sampling, a 3% sample. And we got some conflicting information from KSDE, child nutrition, versus our finance folks. When it comes come audit time, they disallowed 52 weighted FTE. Multiply that times the state aid was a number, right? So we'll be really careful this year. We were under the impression because we're a CEP, everybody eats free. That wasn't a requirement for us, and well, it turns out it is that we do have to do a sampling of the economic survey. So, but that is an important line item for Topeka Public Schools because it drives $30 million worth of funding in the $31 million worth of funding into that at-risk fund. And a lot of teachers get paid proportionate out of that at-risk fund. Reduced meals, 1,162, just data that's collected on that form, has no bearing on funding, but it is, demographically, I think it's significant when you look at 9,100, 9,200 of our students, right, out of a population of FTE of 11,600, 11,700. So that's a significant portion of our kids, right? 70% plus of our kids are socioeconomically challenged. We know that, but it's good to see that annually. Career Tech Ed clock hours, those have kind of been on a decline a little bit here. The last couple of years, Dr. kept predicting even a little less for our FY26 estimates. Bilingual clock hours staying right around that 2,000. We always use head count for our FTE. It always provides a stronger FTE number, the head count, bilingual head count. And you could see that for this year, we're predicting a little decline in that area, and probably stands to reason, kind of with our current culture and climate. That's probably accurate. Public pupils transported reside 2.5 miles. You can see that number, has kind of increased, since 23. And we're predicting, somewhere in that 842, 854 FY 26. That's kind of the granular, that's where we get the weightings, and that'll kind of make some sense, or be a place you could refer back to. When we get to, another table that puts dollars to this. The sheet right behind that is just the form F-150, and I always include some of the KSDE budget documents, just so you know I'm not making the numbers up. I don't think I'm making the numbers up, but right where I get them, and I encourage you, right, all of this is available on the Kansas Department of Ed website. And it'll be available once we adopt our budget, right, readily available. If you go out to our website, I think we have now 5 or 6 years of adopted budgets and 5 or 6 years of audits here that you could go out and test some of the data. The next big document, FTE details by year. It's going to be this big sheet here. And this is kind of familiar. We walked through this last year. Kind of just gives you what I try to hone in on again are those weightings. At the top of the spreadsheet, it's student count and weightings. In the particular areas and how we get right to our total weighted FTEs. And you could, look for budgeting at FY 26 versus where we were actual FY 25. Not a big or significant number, but 11.3 down. And that is attributable to something that's kind of quirky. And I'm not gonna, I'll just speak to it. I don't want you to go back to that first page, but every year they tweak the finance formula, and we were always able to use, right, prior 2-year average, which really helped us in a district with declining enrollment. Last year, they changed that law, and now we live with the current year or the very previous year. And so just so happens for us, what really helped our average last year was that 2022, 11,840 FTE number. Darn it, that's a year past what we can, actually 2 years past what we can use for an average. This year, we can either use actual, what we get in September, which our guess is 11,652, or last year's actual 11,603. So that's kind of why we're showing a smaller change there. Right below that, we just turned those weighted FTEs into dollars because we just multiply it times actual per pupil state aid. You can kind of see at the very top what's been going on with state aid. This year, we're moving from 5378 to 5615 per student on that foundation aid. And you can see virtual state aid again, predicting kind of a strong number in that $2 million range. In the lower third, right, we got general fund state aid, we got LOB SPED, and those are really going to be our core operating dollars. And you can kind of look year to year where we are and where we're predicting. In yellow, and we'll talk about this, SPED state aid for 25 and 26. Those two numbers, 20,693 and 21,633 budgeted or anticipated a budget for FY 26. Is everybody there? So you see how that's $3.5, $4 million stronger than actual 24. Notice that? And you go back 4 years and it's $3.5, $4 million stronger. Why is that? Well, I'll tell you why that is because, there's been a lot of discussion legislative every year, right? Are we funding SPED at what the statutory requirement is? Well, I can tell you, we haven't. The statutory requirement is 92% of excess costs, and we've never done that. But the state of Kansas has, a year ago, to their credit, our legislative folks, to their credit, right, we do have a significant surplus. We won't have one here in a couple of years, but we currently do. They added some more money to special education. They called it, local effort. And those are not permanent dollars. So they're not in the formula. Legislative body can giveth and they can taketh away. So I'm a little gun shy. I'm happy to have it, and I'll tell you, in our headwinds, I say that, thank our legislators for that extra, additional effort. It doesn't get us up to 92%, but we certainly appreciate that. But that is the difference, about $3.5 million difference, because of that local effort in that area. So general fund, LOB, SPED, really operating dollars right across the board. The general fund, LOB feed our at risk. It feeds our virtual, right? We do fund transfers. It keeps those funds solvent. You can see how I just wanted to highlight again, right, that those SPED state aid expenditures, right below what our state revenue, audited state aid revenue, for Topeka Public Schools 21 through 26. Again, state aid 17 million, 16.7, 17.2, 16.8, and we jump up, right? 20 million, 693, about 3.3 million of that is that local effort. Then we're predicting, we're budgeting 21 million, 633. And I can tell you 3.7 million of that is that local contribution sped state aid of that. So, right, you back that out and we're back in that $17 million range again. Does that make sense? Again, not in the funding formula. It was a separate statute. Glad to have it. Going to have to be cautious though, because we'll have to have room in the budget somewhere if that doesn't show back up in a year, which I think is there's a high degree of possibility of that. I wanted, along with that, because that's such a significant number, wanted to point out, if you look at the SPED expenditures, again, I've kind of described that as the stairway to heaven sometimes, and we have continued, right? Our SPED numbers are growing, right? Just the number of kids that have the need for services continues to increase. Last year, we were at 42.9 million in expenditures. This year, 46.2, and that's a little higher than what I anticipated this year, than we would have predicted. And we budgeted 48 million, so we were okay. Our cash balances were driven down pretty good in that fund this year, because that spend was close to $1 million higher than what I would have anticipated. But I do know we were able to fill some positions that were required because we have a duty to meet services. So but that's a caution point for me, just quite honestly, is that is the one programmatic fund that cost containment is really tough in that fund. It's really tough. And then that makes it even more concerning for me. Again, when we get special money, we call it something local contribution. We made that up. That didn't exist. Local contribution special ed didn't exist 2 years ago. So again, just appreciate having it in there. It's helped us. And will continue helping us for sure. In FY26, or at least our documents that we're getting from KSDE reflect that we'll get that again. This year, we are budgeting again 3.7 million. We won't get 3.7 million. Last year, we budgeted 3.7, and we ended up with 3.3, right? Because they kind of give you a number and say, hey, budget at least that, but no, don't spend it, right? We're kind of in that phase right now. We'll talk about some other things where it's like budget it, but don't spend it in federal dollars. Because they really don't know how much state aid's available for SPED, right, until mid-spring, when everybody across the state turns in their teachers and their bearers, because we back into the FTE, right? I mean, that state aid for special education is derived by teachers, eras, and then whatever the special transportation is. So whatever bucket of money legislatively they set aside, they have to wait until the spring, until everybody turns those numbers in, where we can sort it out, divide it out across the state. And that's why what they give you at the beginning of the year, when everybody's adopting the budgets, is a little higher. Again, we don't want to republish something, but fully understanding that that isn't the number you're at, right? You're going to get something less than that, $300,000 or $400,000 less than that in our case. So, the last thing, the last quarter of that page, we talk about revenue, but in terms of expenditure, and this is just salary and benefits for state funds. And when I say state funds, I'm talking about general fund, LOB, 4-year-old at-risk, bilingual virtual SPED, career tech ed, professional development, and parents as teachers. Because state aid flows into the general fund, and state aid for the LOB is driven by the size of our general fund. So those dollars combined, we do monthly transfers into 4-year-old at-risk, SPED, career tech ed, right, to cover their expenditures. So if you look at just what salary and benefits in those funds were, you can kind of see what our growth has been. And the percentage of growth in salary and benefits compared to where we're at with revenue. And I just want to make sure I did back out. Those numbers don't include your ESSER retention payments that you got in 22, 23, and 24. So I did want to compare apples and apples. I didn't want to stick in, because those were significant numbers for those retention payments. 10.8 million, 22, 17, almost 18 million, 23. And another 8 million in that first half of 24. So, upwards of $35 million in retention payments too. That's the right thing to do. Absolutely. But I think that it makes more sense if we just when we're talking about general fund, LOB, state aid and revenue, that we should talk about expenditures. Why did I pick on salary and benefits? It's the biggest portion of what we do, right? We're people driven business. 78% of what we do is people. Guys, any questions for me? You're looking at me like, oh my God, is he done? Yeah. I hope so. We're getting close. The Form 118, again, just back up so you kind of know. I get the numbers for my charts right off the KSC budget documents. really information, but let's go to headwinds. Go ahead, Gary.
At one point in time, the lunches and breakfast and stuff are being covered by a grant, but that's not being covered by a grant this year, is that correct?
Breakfast and lunches, child nutrition program.
Yeah.
We are CEP, so breakfast and lunches are free.
Okay, do we anticipate any kind of change in that?
Well, it's just, we're going to talk about that in my headwinds. If we can, because I am going to talk about that.
Okay.
Are we ready for headwinds?
Did you tell us what the LOD percentages set at?
Last year was just right above 29%. We're authorized for 33. we were right at 29. I can tell you our plan, and we moved it from 33 million. You could see, Brenda, we moved that from 33 million. We moved it up a million last year to 34.9. From the prior year, we moved it up a million. Increases mill levy, fusses with that revenue neutral rate, right? Which is, again, going to be contentious. We're really looking at moving that again. And we've kind of preempted the board. But again, that won't come without some cost, because again, that's going to raise some property taxes, and we've been really conscious with that revenue neutral rate, keeping it right at or above. We haven't really exceeded it a lot, but if you look at our mill levies, they have really declined, right? If you look at a 5-year decline, we've really tried to manage and be fair to what we need in our budget, but also be fair to our taxpayers, right? Our homeowners. But revenue neutral is kind of like, it's the equivalent of spend. If expenditures are the highway to heaven, revenue neutral is the reverse of that. It is the staircase to hell, because every year, if we kind of keep that strategy of, hey, we'll just keep notching it down, dialing it down, right? At some point, it really impacts your ad valorem taxes that you're able to collect. And we can collect 33% of the general fund. We can go to 33. Which is a big number, right? That would be in the mid $40 million for that LOB. But we would have to have the stiffness in terms of administration and board to go full bore at 33%. I'm not telling you at some point that's not going to be the recommendation. But this year we are going to edge that up.
Do you have any idea like what, like 1%? Like,
yeah,
0.8%?
it's gonna be above 30% of the general fund. I think the calculation, I haven't. We still have until Friday to turn our revenue neutral notice intent into the Shawnee County. So we have to turn an intent in by the 20th is by statute this year, which we have to have it done by Friday because 20th Sunday. And so what that generates, right, when we send our revenue neutral intent in the funds that are levied, general fund, LOB, capital outlay, bond and interest, and a little bit of mill levy for legal liability. What that generates, the county clerk has to kick out a letter to every homeowner. You got them if you own your home, that says, hey, those scoundrels at City of Topeka, the library, Shawnee County, Topeka Public Schools, right? They're gonna go past their revenue neutral rate this year. And then that's kind of when the folks that pay attention to that kind of get geared up. We've exceeded revenue neutral every year since it passed, since it became law. It's just we've always been really careful to keep it right in terms of trying to respect what we need in the budget to pay our bills, as well as trying to provide some fairness to the taxpayers, because the last 4 or 5 years assessed valuations have went insane, right? We all see them. I don't know that they're real. But listen, it's what the calculation's based on. You know, I don't know if my home increased 50% over the last 5 years, is that real? I guess it is if I can sell it, but the problem with that is then I got to go buy another house in Shawnee County and pay too much money for it, right? And I'm still hearing that people, again, going back here to our earlier conversation, I don't think we're building a lot of homes, right? I don't think the inventory is large because I'm still hearing people paying over list price for homes in Topeka. And I don't understand that. I would never do that, but I haven't been in a position where I've needed to buy a home recently either. So, and I will remind you what I do every year. What goes up comes down. I don't care whether it's a stock market, a balloon, or an airplane. Assessed valuations are gonna go down. We've had negative assessed valuations. I've shared charts before, right? If you go back 20 years, assessed valuations go down. So again, something that just needs managed, but, yeah, Brenda, we'll be a little higher this year than that LRB for sure. But right around 29% is where we landed last year of the general fund. And that was purposeful. Again, what drove that was the general fund was about $3.7 million higher at adoption, again, because of that local effort in SPED. Over answer, under answer,
No, yeah,
ready to move on, ready for me to shut up. All right, let's go to headwinds, because these are the things that we're gonna really focus. And I'm not pulling any punches. This is my 11th budget. This is my 11th budget cycle. First one started out, I say this every year, but I'm gonna remind you anyway, because it's so painful. I was a new CFO the first year of the block grant in January. I took over July and implemented the block grant, and we cut $3.6 million out of the budget mid-year. And that's never fun, because we got contracts with people. And when 78% of what you do is people, it's real hard to find that kind of money in other areas. And increasingly, it's gotten more difficult, right? If we were to have to dial back expenditures. But for me, the things that are really concerns moving into this budget year, that SPED local effort, the additional state aid, nice to have, gonna hurt our budget process, how we've plugged it in, if it goes away in the 27 budget cycle, and that it is a $3.3 million addition to our budget. It's not in the state funding formula, is by statute. A year ago authorized, this year reauthorized, right? Student transportation continues to be a problem. That's a $5.3 million problem for Topeka schools, going to go up 5% again. We have the same problems as everybody. We can't find bus drivers, and they demand more dollars, right, for the ones that are out there willing and able to do that work. It's just interesting in that transportation area. Headwind, we can't get drivers. Got an email from our general director of SPED this morning, a reminder that he'd like to talk to me about bus pairs, raising the hourly rate for bus pairs. We can't find bus pairs. We can't keep bus pairs in that classified world. And I know that's a problem, right? So transporting kids costs money and continues to put increasing pressures. But elephant in the room, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. It's federal funding. We watch the news. I don't know what news you watch, but it doesn't matter. Right? There's a thing going on right now, right? And public education is I don't know what you call it, or whether it's under attack, but it certainly is under something, right? Supreme Court just recently said, yeah, we can dismantle the Department of Education. So that's kind of an interesting thing. That doesn't make me feel great as a person responsible for not only this upcoming budget, but a budget afterwards, right? We're going to have some seed. money. So the elephant in the room is federal funding. Currently, I'm gonna get to child nutrition here, but what has been impounded currently, right? What are dollars that we know, were awarded? And, currently, we're not gonna get, and, not anticipating getting. Part of the, budget guidance from KSTE, I told you, hey, put it in your budget, but just be prepared to backfill it if you spend anything out of it. Currently, about $1.6 million of that is, impounded, but things that are important. And, the person who manages those dollars, Ms. Wallace, might wanna, chime into the importance of some of these things, but currently, and these are, kind of FY 25 dollars, in the impounded funds, but Title II-A, professional development, for teachers, principals, school leaders. 3 are English, to improve English skills for our, English learners, migrants. Title IV-A, student supports academic enrichment, school conditions, technology, or common things there. And 4B, is family supports and foster care, supports. The other dollars that we know, are in play currently impounded are 21st century or before and after school programs. And there's 4 schools, currently Quincy, Chase, Robinson, McCarter, about $390,000 worth of funds, where I do not believe those will be, available. So we know, right, we have some people that are paid out of these line items, whether they're paid out of those line items in whole or in part. We know there's $1.6 million we're gonna have to do something about, right? Whether we move that person out of that federally funded position into an open general fund position, or we backfill it with general fund LOB dollars, which is the last thing I would like to do. Gary, is that the same person calling you in on? Or
Sorry.
did we? That was my doctor's office, so I hope you didn't get the same. I hope you and I are getting the same.
I did used to get Gary Livingston, the old superintendent's mail, and I opened it once because I didn't know any different, and there was this humongous bill for car insurance. I'm like, this can't possibly be right. This is not-
I'm looking for my lipid panel results. I hope yours are better. I hope yours are better than mine. If yours are better, I'll take yours. So those are impounded, right? Those are dollars. KSDE's guidance makes no sense to me. It does. That's not true. Let me reel that back. It does make sense, because when we build this budget, if it's not adopted, we can't spend it, right? We have no legal authority to spend it if we don't adopt it. We need to put it in there. It's just, right, from the finance guy's perspective, it's always nerve-wracking when we have some budget authority, and we have no dollars to liquidate expenses, right? Because it's like having bullets for your gun. I mean, man, you want to use them if you got them, smoke them if you got them. So, but that budget authority requirement, or not requirement, but recommendation is put that budget authority in your adopted budget, because if you adopt your budget, you got to have the authority to spend it. If for whatever reason, in November, these funds become available.
We have a couple different Zoom meetings today and tomorrow.
So, and we don't know, right? I mean, there's just part of being a little conservative with this year's budget, because we don't know, right? I mean, this is new for, it's like COVID. We don't have a playbook for impounded funds. We didn't have that word in our tool chest, right? We didn't have impounded funds. There was no such thing as impounded funds. And again, what makes me nervous about that and doesn't help my confidence, Gary, is when we have a Supreme Court that says, yeah, get rid of the U.S. Department of Education. You can do it. have at it. So not impacted yet, Title I, 5.8 million, Title I-D. D is our float crit Shawnee County Juvenile Detention, folks,
I will share, both of those fundings are down this year.
and both are down. But I can tell you, if that were a program that were impounded, we'd have to have some real talks, because we probably can't shut down Shawnee County Juvenile Detention Center, right? Or float crit. I mean, it'd be we would have to find resources within that general fund and LOB for 26 to fill that hole, because that's probably an area we're not gonna say, hey, well, we're just gonna provide that programmatically. I just don't think we could walk away from those two. Title VI-B SPED, right? We get some federal dollars, about 3.6 million in that IDEA SPED money. So flow through state of Kansas right now, that has been left alone, and what we're hearing, right, is Title I and the IDEA money or SPED money is okay for this upcoming budget year. USDA child nutrition, to your point here, it's about $9.5 million of revenue, federal revenue. We're a 100% CEP district. What does that mean? Well, it's a program that at some point, right, you have so many kids that qualify for free lunch. It just doesn't make sense to do all of the paperwork and that, right? I mean, even for the USDA. So we are CEP, 100%, right, of our child nutrition, not 100%, but boy, strong 95 of our child nutrition program is funded by federal dollars. That program, we count on that program being self-sufficient. That program, the cost to run that program, whether they're salary benefits, the food costs, the input costs, the equipment costs at every attendance center. Was that for me? Somebody hit the bell for me. 100%. We count on them since I've been here. This is going on 25 years, right? That is it's a cost center that has to stand on its own, right? Not receive any help from the general fund or the LOB, and we've been able to do that because if your food service program gets in a pickle, there's only one way to fix it, and that is to transfer money out of your general fund, which means you don't have money for teacher salaries. That is $9.5 million, right? Now I can tell you, you could look everywhere up and down the budget. You and I can spend 3 days. If you think we got $9.5 million in our budget to fix a food service program, if the child nutrition program goes away, I can assure you, friends, we do not. There's not a path forward for that. But the difficulty is, are we going to not feed kids? Does that help you in your classroom? Probably not. So, right, when I'm building this budget, do I think about that? Yeah, I do. I do. Do I think there's a chance that that's going to be impounded? No, but there's a lot of things that have happened in the last 7 months that I didn't think would happen. So just like you. So I cannot like it, but I have to prepare for it. And I assure you we're going to prepare for it. The best we can. I mean, there's absolutely no way, right? There's no 100% path forward. The bell system works.
They added that bell last year. They added those bells here.
That's the shortest class period. Well, that's the path. Okay.
No, it's not passing period. We don't have passing period. It's to allow kids to get up front for the bus.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, once they're here, they only go in one spot.
Wish I'd had some of the classes when I was in high school. And then, our Head Start program, $2.9 million out there at Sheldon Head Start, off of Gage. Our understanding again, this year's budget, it is fine. I can tell you what we didn't get was every year with that Head Start grant, we get a cost of living adjustment. In the spring, we did not get that. It was not a lot of money. It's $80,000-$90,000. But still, it's kind of indicative to me of kind of the direction we're heading, because we've always gotten a cost COLA. We didn't get that mid-year COLA. I can tell you that I don't know how many Head Start regions there were, but there's about half there now. Is that half's a good number? They reduced that agency in half. So again, make your own assumptions. I got to make mine because really at the end of the day, I thought the checks got to clear. So yeah, Mr. Livingston, is Gary making you nervous when you start looking at $24-25 million of federal programming? That I can assure you, there's nothing we do that's not 78% human beings, and nobody comes to work here gratis, right? Everybody likes to come and be gainfully employed. So yeah, I am this. Again, going on my 11th budget, this is, I'm more nervous about this budget than I've ever been about a budget, just because we don't know. Cash balances, I always like to give those to you. We haven't published our year-end 25, it's 3.6 million on $152 million in expenditures in that general fund and LOB. Still running around 2.4% of that general fund LOB. If you take that 3.6 into the $270 million we spend total with our federal funds, capital outlay, right? That becomes a lot smaller cushion. We spend about $500,000 a day, whether it's salary, benefits, electrical bills, gas, utilities. So I'll let you do the math on how long $3 million lasts, or 3.6. But that's pretty skinny. And I've gotten that recently from somebody that has worked on state budgets for quite a long time. So, but it's important because we do have unexpected things, right? A couple years ago, you remember the big Texas, the big freeze, right? And the gas companies raised the prices. We got a gas bill that was $500,000 more than we expected. Had to pay it. We were part of the gas consortium with Kansas Association of School Boards. Everybody got some rebate. I mean, I don't think anybody was made whole. But I promise you that additional $500,000 in gas for February that year came out of contingency. I mean, that's it. Kind of giving you example of what that's for, what it was used for. Health insurance, and we'll talk about health insurance more in detail. I don't know whether today or tomorrow, but health insurance continues to be a battle. I know there's some folks at the table here that are on the health insurance committee. I don't care what kind of insurance is, whether it's property liability or health insurance or auto. Insurance premiums driven by claims. If you have a terrible claim experience, you're going to have higher premiums, right? And we're kind of in that cycle. And I've got some details and data for you. But we're going to start up a new 3-year rate cap, which is a little different than the current, and we're on the last year of the previous 3-year rate cap. Is that our plans for 25-26 are going to go up 8.5. All plans though. Previously, we held harmless Plan B, the no premium single plan. And Plan C, was held harmless a couple years, no increases. Under the new agreement, at every plan, if it's 8.5 at the rate cap, 11.5 at the rate cap, or the third year will be 14.5. And I'll show you our current loss ratio, we're gonna hit the 8.5 cap. If we didn't have that cap in place, we'd be looking at a 30+% increase in health insurance. And when we look at premiums, you'll see how that might be unmanageable for everybody, for the district's budget and probably for your home budget. So we're working really hard, I promise you, and we'll talk a little bit about that new requirement to get a fiscal, in order to not have to pay $50 extra in that 27 plan. And just encouraging, because the data's telling us, right, everybody that sees a physician annually, it is a little healthier, and group health plans see reduced costs. Typically, most group plans see about 20% of their employees see a physician every year. So we got to make some improvements in that world. Every year I point out, right, step increase, we feel that's a little automatic, but that is a boost. It is new dollars are required to do step increases. Legislative changes, again, this from last year, they just keep increasing what's exempt on that 20 mil general fund, which at some point is going to decrease the amount of dollars that are available. And, if you kind of pay attention to the news, with legislatively, what we did, this last year in the state of Kansas, probably the current budget surplus will be gone in 2 years. Again, I lived when we didn't have a budget surplus, and I have a real good memory of what happens when you don't have a budget surplus. And the state has 1 year, right? One tough year of collections. When school districts are 52% plus of the state's budget, again, I'm going to tell you, I know what percent of the solution we're going to be, right? We're going to be part of it. We're going to participate in the solution. Liability remains the same. We went from hail wind deductibles of $50,000 per occurrence to $250,000, right? That's been for several years. We've been really lucky. Topeka Public Schools has not had a big wind hail event. And gosh, I hope we don't, because roofs have only gotten progressively more and more expensive. And when we talk about square foot, we're talking about millions of square foot. We got a lot of flat roofs. And flat roofs, not that any roof does well with wind and hail, but once one corner of a EPDM rubber roof gets lifted up, it tends to lift up, right? So it becomes a big sail. It gets very expensive to fix. And if you, I'm on the state board for our Kansas insurance pool, looking at the data for wind, hail, or convective storms. The severity continue to increase, and those damages from those storms continue to increase in the Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, right, up through this area. We're not having the big fires, right, that occur on kind of both ends of the country or Canada, but severe convective storms create a lot of damage here in the Midwest, and we're rated by that. So that continues to be a concern. New auto liability in terms of exposures, our pool really concerned. School districts own a lot of vehicles. We operate with school buses and vans for high schools and loaners and the school buses and campus police cars and operations and maintenance vans and trucks and snow pushers. We're 130, 140 vehicles. A lot of our newest vehicles, the last batch we got, have some monitoring systems. I can't tell you how often I've been shown video of people driving like we all do. God forbid that's ever a school bus, right? Or some vehicle, but it does happen. In the state of Kansas, there was a school bus, hit a sheriff's deputy car up in northeast Kansas and you saw that a couple years ago, killed the deputy. And those claims get very, very expensive. And in Kansas, I know there's a $500,000 tort liability, but anything gets pushed in federal courts to go race past that, I promise you, and it's gonna get pushed in the federal court and it's gonna race past $500,000. I've mentioned this every year: professional liability, child assault, or staff assault, exposure millions, again, is making it tough. In terms of containing costs for liability insurance, and of course, social engineering and cyber attacks continue to be problematic for schools. So those are the things that I'm worried about, that we spend money on outside of the salary and benefits that we spend significant dollars on. Going into the budget year, again, I'm very thankful that state continues to increase that per pupil. Base state aid. I'm very thankful this year that we flattened out a little bit in those student numbers. That helps. But the uncertainty of our federal dollars, and some of our larger expenditures, health insurance, liability insurance, transportation, those are things we're gonna have to deal with. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Willis, did you have anything that you wanted to add around title?
Just that, because that is a chunk of money, we are prioritizing, scrutinizing, put some positions on hold, filling. We don't want to fund positions that are perhaps not available.
Thank you. Brenda, I think we're ready to hear some of your proposals that have a financial impact.
I think our team was kind of hoping we would have insurance information to beforehand so that we can take that into account for what financially, like what we're asking for.
So that is going to impact your requests around addendum supplements.
I mean, yeah, I feel like a phrase I hear a lot is there's only so much money. There's only a pot of money. I mean, and if a part of that pot is gonna have to go to pay increased premiums and things and health insurance, then we have to factor that into what we then ask for everyone in the bargaining unit, because then there's less money, to go around essentially, if, you know what I mean? Like if the percent that the district is paying is then more money than last year, then that's part of that pot.
So then you're thinking that you would take some of these asks off the table?
I can't answer that until I know what those numbers look like.
I can talk about health insurance. I think if you would like, I mean, I'm prepared to do that. Kind of where That's kind of the last thing that I'm prepared for today, but I can talk about health insurance. I'm prepared to do that, Sarah, for the group. Cause, again, you know, several of us are on that health insurance committee. There's no locked doors. There's no hidden secrets here. So I'm prepared to do that. Talk about health insurance.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, yeah, if you're ready, we'd love to hear that.
All right. And you're gonna get all the media I can give you there. All right, let's start with this, and then we'll give them for that. This is kind of this premium differential. I know there's questions on that, so we'll start with that first, okay? Yeah, give them those, and then we'll hand out the premium information, because you're gonna see that. What comes up August 1st?
Roman?
Open enrollment.
Have you
And
gotten a text message yet?
Yeah.
And like 5 emails.
yeah, and you're gonna continue to get them. Because 300 of our friends, I promise you, on the last day, will have touched that, looked at it, and will be very disappointed that they don't get enrolled. Because they didn't know about it. They didn't know there was open enrollment. It's a surprise, right? But we're hounding you, right? I hope it feels a little like hounding, a little bit, yeah. All right, what are we gonna talk about? I might need one of them just so I can talk about it. Nah, they'll be fun. There'll be one for me, certainly, Spencer.
Thank you.
Sure. No. There you go. All right, let's start with BCS loss ratio history. And this is not a new problem for our plan. It's kind of been an ongoing plan. And again, as I mentioned, we're in the last year of the current year agreement, and we'll be starting a new 3-year rate cap guarantee for this upcoming plan year, which would be 25, 26, and then 26, 27, 27, 28. So let's just look at loss ratio history. And I just pulled out 2 or 3 pages from our most recent July Health Insurance Committee meeting. If you look at prior plan year, second page, it's got the little half oval, looks like a gauge, maybe a speedometer gauge or a temperature gauge for your engine. You can see we're at the red in terms of net loss ratio run out for our current 24-25 plan year, because this started October 1 of 24, run through September of 25. Past prior 23-24 loss ratio, gross loss, and the gross loss, all of these reports, right, are a little funny because they include some data, some pages don't, but that gross loss would also include whatever the 1 or 2% administrative fee that Blue Cross and Blue Shield charges us to administer the claims, right? Because somebody's got to take in the bill from the hospital and pay it. They just want 1.2, 1.3%, but Irregardless, 139% for that 23-24 plan year. Really, what does that mean? It means for every dollar we put in for premium, we spend $1.39. It's kind of the right kind of a way to look at it. And you can't do that forever, right? Because they're going to want to collect more premium in order to close that gap. Current year, we're on pace. Again, you see we're about 117% loss ratio. That is through June. We still have July, August, September. If you look at past years, last year at this same time, our loss ratio was around 114%. We ended up at 139. So if you know, unless we just have a really great July, August, and September, I suspect we'll end the year a little higher than that 117%. And that really it sends us into the red zone in terms of how we're rated. And it wouldn't be any different whether we were a Blue Cross customer or a Aetna customer or a Met customer or a United Healthcare. Prior to the previous 3-year agreement, we did go out for bid. I mean, we have done that. Our health insurance consulting firm, USI. I mean, we're trying to pull all the levers on health insurance, I promise you. But we're going to have to improve our loss ratios. That's going to be the first. It doesn't matter. Again, I don't think whether we're a Blue Cross customer or a United Healthcare customer. It doesn't matter. They're going to rate us based on our claims. So we're going to have to see some improvement in those claims, right? And yeah, I get right. It's no one's fault when they get ill. It happens to all of us. But you know, before we do get ill, there are a lot of things we can do to help, you know, do some prevention and help drive down costs for those unplanned health problem moments. But premiums versus claims, we're always short premium dollars versus claim dollars. If we move over and look at that next page, that's that same data broken down in the months October through September. In terms of the loss ratios, collected premium 16.6 million, almost 16.7 million. Everybody with me there on that. And then right, that broken down into medical RX. So you look at total claims, $22,950,000, 137. What's the difference between that and the 139? Again, that first page had Blue Cross's admin. It was gross. But $22.9 million. So right, there's a delta between total premiums, you know, of $6 million. So we spent $6 million more medical coverage than we put in premiums, and right.
But
Ideally,
that's before kickbacks.
yeah,
That we know that they get, that they don't have.
right, in the prescription drugs, we know that we're a fully insured plan, right? Which means, right, there's a lot of backstops for what we do. And if you look at that 22.9 million, that's $6 million over the dollars we put in. There is prescription rebates, right? All of the health companies own their own pharmaceutical PBM, pharmaceutical benefit managers, right? So no secret there. And there are rebates, right, on these big expensive drugs. And our health insurance consultants, and they work with, you know, health insurance companies across the United States. They would guess that In Topeka Public Schools case, Blue Cross Blue Shield's probably subsidizing our plan, right? Because no entity's gonna lose $6 million a year on a customer. But they would guess that the rebates on that prescription drug, 6.6 reasonably would be somewhere in the 2 and maybe $2.2 million in rebates. So we know that those exist. We can't get those because we're fully insured. They get them. We know they're subsidizing our plan with that. But even with that, right, we know there's $4.2 million expenditures out versus what they got premium, even accounting for the rebates. And that's just the unfortunateness of having such a high loss ratio. So yes, Linda, absolutely. We know there's some rebates involved in there. The problem is our loss ratio is so high. They're using it to subsidize our plan.
I mean, the real problem is they don't have to tell us what that number is, like.
You're
From our
right.
perspective, that's the real problem, is we don't know how much they make.
Yeah, but we think, we're pretty confident that we know that number. And that's gonna come into the discussion, right, after a 3-year rate agreement. What do we wanna do with health insurance? Do you wanna narrow the amount of plans that are offered? Do we wanna go to a high, right? I mean, we're gonna make some real decisions. And again, whether it's a Blue Cross Blue Shield or a United Healthcare, there's no easy fixes in health insurance that I'm aware of, to be honest with you. What I can tell you is the current the 3-year rate agreement with our rate caps at 8.5, 11.5. I'm thankful for because where we're at fully insured. Otherwise, this would be a 30% plus. A real, I mean, there are really school districts that can get 25 and 30% rate increases in health insurance. I promise you that really happens. So would I love if we, for the next plan year, we came in at 95% loss ratio? That would be amazing, right? Because there is the opportunity for the next 3 years that we don't hit the rate cap, right? And that we could go at it a little bit with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and say, okay, we know we're under the cap. Our loss ratio is under 100%. It just gets increasingly difficult when you're over 100%, and it gets almost impossible when you're 140%, right? When your loss ratio is 140%, consistently at 140%. The next page just is again a plan year perspective. There's a 4-year, again, just showing you where we're at with those plans at consistently over 100%, and with the projection that we're going to be above, somewhere above 117 to, you know, where we could end up we could end up at 140% this year. I don't know. What I don't, you know, if claims history the last quarter over the past 5 years shows us anything, we're not going to come in under 117%. We're going to be somewhat above that, unfortunately. So then let's look at the BCBS rate history, which also includes the rates for the 25-26 year. And I just want to talk about this, kind of walk you through columns starting over there on the left at 22-23. And these are the total premiums by tier. So you can kind of see where we were at in the singles, 805, 657, 610, 537 in that D. And we added D for that the first year of that first 3-year contract, right? We added D, just trying to use a lever, use a tool to maintain premium And why is it that plan less cost? Well, because the person who's responsible for their healthcare themselves is responsible for the first $5,000 worth of medical, right? You're responsible for the first dollar cost of your medical care. That's why that is less money. Plans are all the same, right? Out-of-pocket maxes are the same. You get the same. You don't get a watered down prescription drug program with D. You just have out-of-pocket right up front. Everybody's out-of-pocket max, if you're a single, $6,350. It just indeed, right, that is 5,000 right up front is on you versus the plan. But when we made that agreement for the first 3-year contract and continuing with this next 3-year, the district made the commitment that it would continue to fully fund 100% of the cost. I mean, that's part of our Blue Cross Blue Shield contract, is that the board would continue to pay 100% of the cost of a single D plan. We would continue that commitment. Under the prior 3-year agreement, Plan C and D were kind of held exempt from rate increases in years 1 and 2, or years 1. After year 2, that they were held at 0% increase. So you can see moving from 22 to 23 into that 23-24 plan year premium by tiers. Looking at the singles, 866, 683. You can see employee only in C and D stayed the same at a 0 increase. And for 24, A took a 7.5% increase, and B took a 4% increase. And if you look at historical data, and again, A being the the $1,000 deductible, B I think is 1,500, C's 2,500. The loss ratios in those two plans are historically the highest. They're dragged down the other two. But moving into the final year, which is where we're at currently, plans A, B, and C took a 7.5% increase in health in total plan cost. With addendum N last year, the additional $718. I can tell you there were some folks in employee only B and employee only C, and I'm one of them. You thought healthcare went down last year. Health insurance went, well, it went down for you because of what we kicked in, right? We kicked in $1 million. But right now, what you need to understand is this year, the 3rd year, plan A, B, and C took that increase, and it was across the board 7.5. Here's what I really want you to pay attention to. For the upcoming 25-26 plan, 26-27, and 27-28, right? Now the new contract is 8.5% cap if we are somewhere over 100% loss ratio, 11.5% for the following year, 14.5% for that final year. Not 20, it's not 30, so I'm thankful for that, but it's still, that's the cap. If past prior loss ratios are, if we use that as a predicting tool, right, we probably ought to budget for that. Right, somebody can. But what you need to understand is those percentages are across all plans. No, C and D are no longer exempt. Everybody gets an 8.5% increase. Doesn't matter what plan. They all get 8.5. We're going to get an 8.5% rate increase, and that is premium by tier. What the total monthly premium in the respective plans are going to be for 25-26, and you'll see that in your online enrollment benefit guide.
Gary, I wanted to clarify that $1 million kick-in was because of what we added appendix
M. That's
the
correct.
719.
Yeah. Okay, with the new plan year, there are no plan changes, there's no deductible changes, there's no prescription coverage changes, all of those things. If you pull out your, if you would pull out your 20, 23, 24, 24, 25 comprehensive major medical program, it's not in your sheet. All the deductibles out of pocket, none of that changes, right? For this year, we didn't do any plan changes. But what we are implementing is the 2026 medical premium differential. And I know there's been kind of some talk and concern. And I think what's in the benefit guide does a really good job. I think it's better than the FAQ we put out, and really would like you to start sharing this with folks in terms of what the premium differential is and what it does. Why did the Health Insurance Committee determine, and the Wellness Committee, that this was a necessary, important? We got to do something, right? I mean, we got to try to do something to impact the overall health of our population. And whether it's medical folks or insurance folks or our health insurance consultants are saying, we know, irregardless of the group, without some type of incentive or disincentive, about 24%, somewhere in that neighborhood of your insured are getting annual physicals, right? That there's a whole big population that aren't seeing their physician. And there's a lot of statistical evidence, right? If you go to the doctor and you get, right, if we get something diagnosed early, there's a lot better outcome for you, right? Your chances of surviving, God forbid, colon cancer or any form of cancer, if we can prevent a heart attack with our lipid panel review, your chances of survivability go up. The amount of time you spend in the hospital goes down, and anytime that we can keep you out of the emergency room and out of an ambulance is going to benefit the plan costs, right? Anytime that we can keep you off of expensive drugs is going to benefit the plan, and that's going to help us overall. So, we said, oh, okay, we'll take that advice. Let's try to get people, at least encourage them. We'd like to see great participation. Let's go see a physician. Make sure everything's okay under the hood, and if it's not, right, let's start addressing it, right? And I'm in that group. You know, share it with you. I gotta eat better. I gotta exercise more. All the things that we all talk about doing, want to do, and I promise you, doing this for 10 now going on 11 years with the Health Insurance Committee and the Wellness Committee. Family fun fitness nights, great. Shirts are great. Lanyards, but none of that moves the dial, right? None of that moves the dial. We gotta move the dial somehow. And I think premium differential, making sure that we're having physician engagement. I think past this, the Health Insurance Committee, I think one of the things that should get discussed, do we want to do some form of smoking cessation? We know that smoking's not good for you. I don't think we have a lot of tobacco users, but I think we have as many vape users as, you know, and I can't imagine that any of that's good for you. I don't think that's, you know, vitamin enriched, whatever that fog is that people are breathing in. So I think that is probably something that we'll look at. I got to tell you, for me, my recommendation is moving forward, and this is just a thought that I haven't shared with anybody, that in order to really get tough, get serious in terms of what we're going to do with our group health, we've got about 30 people on that committee and invited that we're going to dial it. We need to dial it back. We need to dial back the participants. We need a smaller group, more active group. And again, we certainly would want representation from all three classes. But we need to dial it back. And get leaner and faster. I don't know that the wellness committee has been as a separate entity, a separate meeting, has been extremely impactful. I'd like to consider this year kind of the health committee is the wellness committee. And we really start getting engaged with a smaller group. We can communicate, right, to a broader group, but a smaller group of real decision makers in terms of what we want to do for healthcare beyond 27, 28 at the end of this 3-year cycle. But right now, we want to make sure folks get engaged. This really talks about the premium differential in terms of, I think it does a good job. Got to get a physical between July 1, 2026 and June 30, 2026. I know you guys have had phone calls. I just got mine at the end of June. We're going to count it. This isn't a gotcha. This isn't about, right, trying to screw somebody over for $50 a month. This is, I want this to be about going to see your doctor. We need to get more than 20% of our population in front of a doctor annually, right? Doing some lipid screening, sugar screenings is important. So there is no premium differential for this upcoming plan year, right? For 25, 26, there's no differential problem. But make sure you go see a doctor between now and June 30. And again, if you want to holler at one of us in HR or myself and say, hey, just the last week of June, I got mine, and we're going to take them. Part of this is there is a document that you need to take to your doctor. What I did is I scanned mine. Does anybody use my chart? I use my chart. Like my chart? Don't like my chart? I don't know. I think it looks pretty good. I scanned my form to my doctor and with the requirements of the screenings, and she replied back same day, no problem. But you'll need that document signed by your physician so you can upload it to the Strive website, which is a Blue Cross and Blue Shield. It's not to speak public schools. We're not asking you to upload your results, right? We don't. That's not important. What's important is that we know you went. The results are for you, right? We don't need that. Then in the next plan year is where, right, I didn't get a physical in that July 1, 25 through June 30, 26 timeframe. What happens? Well, you're going to get penalized $50 on the published rates at that time, whatever. And probably the likelihood they're going to be 11.5% higher than they are today, right? But you're going to pay $50 a month more for those. That's the incentive to go see your doctor this year. Well, what if I messed around, didn't get it done until August, but I got it in? Well, that's going to be great for the next plan year. We're going to count that for the next plan year, but starting the new plan year in 2026, you're going to pay $50 a month more through September of 27. Does that make sense? I don't know whether it makes sense or not. Did you understand that? Because that's.
I guess my only question would be, like, not to be that person, but if we're gonna say, oh, you got your physical 10 days before July 1st, we'll allow it. Why wouldn't we then say, oh, you got your physical?
This is a new program, and it's not going to be new next year. It's not new. So we're adults, and these are the rules.
Right, so are we saying we're gonna stick to the rules of the timeline, or are we saying we might have some exceptions here?
There
Like,
are
that's
going to be exceptions next year, because it's going to be a year. I mean, we'll have it implemented for a year. And the last week of June business, again, I could get fluffed up, Brendan, toughen it, right? And say, too bad, I just go get you another one. But right? In terms of getting things communicated out, I don't know that we've especially done an A+ job. I think we've done a B+ job. Getting that information out, getting that data out, but it's like everything, it's tough to get these things launched. And so that week window for me right now is just our consideration for just that we know this is new, but it's not gonna be new for year 2 and year 3.
Well, I mean, it's hard to communicate something we haven't actually agreed to yet. So, I mean, we understand that. My understanding is this has to be negotiated and accepted at the table because it's to do with money.
We've never, I mean, health insurance has never been an item that was approved.
Well, I mean, we agree to the rates, things, that is.
Well, you agree to them or don't agree to them, this is what Blue Cross is gonna charge us for 25, 26.
Right, I'm just saying that, like, I understand.
I'll be very clear, I mean, there is no more negotiating for the rates. What's there is there.
Right, I'm just saying I understand that it's hard to communicate something when it hasn't actually been ratified yet.
It will be. I have full confidence.
Fingers crossed.
I have full confidence in your ability and our ability to get that done.
Do we know if the $600, if there's any research that shows that that's incentivizing to people? Like, does USI have any data on that?
Yeah, so we did talk about that, right? Should it be $50 or $100? Should it be $500? So you get to the point, and I could ask, because there is, they've got some, I don't know whether it's empirical data, but they've got a lot of groups across the United States that anywhere between $50 and $100 moves the dial.
Like per month?
Per month.
Okay,
Yeah, if you do anything less than that per month, the $50 mark, you don't, what they have seen with other groups, it don't move the needle in terms of people, actually improving the amount of people that get to a physician. The percentage of the population that gets to a physician. And at $100, right? I mean, anywhere between 50 and 100, it certainly improves because it's more painful at $100. But then there's a point, right? There's a tipping point where, and this is probably something that can be discussed, right? There's a tipping point where it becomes such a disincentive that you have people leaving the plan, right? Become uninsured. Well, I don't know that an uninsured employee is any better for us and an employee that don't go see a doctor, right? Because if you don't have health insurance, I'm probably a pretty good guarantee you're not going to go see your physician until you need an ambulance ride. So yes, we talked about that extensively in the health insurance committee as well as the wellness, right? Why $50? Why? And our USI said, hey, what we see other school districts, other entities, businesses, somewhere between $50 and $100 gets people to the doctor, right? Anything below 50, you just don't see the results. Anything above 100 could be the chance it could be so punitive, right? That you start losing insurers, which again, I don't think that's smart. I don't, I'd hate to see that too. Did that answer your question? I hope.
mm-hmm. And then my understanding is you can access Strive through a web browser also.
Right.
On your computer, okay.
Yes. As of today, I don't know, and we will communicate, because again, this is a Blue Cross Blue Shield site that they're making live for Topeka Public Schools. It's not something they're recreating, it's just they need to make it live for us. I don't know that the Strive site is available today. If I got mine signed by Dr. Naratam today, I don't know that I could upload mine just yet, but yeah, upload it online or QR code if you're a QR code person. Somebody's getting ready to test the QR code. Right on. Okay.
when people enroll, then will the premium that they see reflect whether or not they've uploaded their form? Is that why they're cutting it off on June 30th instead of going closer to the,
In the next plan year, you mean?
right, like when they log in that year, will like my rate, if I get a physical, show X amount of dollars versus like, say Danica doesn't, and will hers show that increased amount
I,
for her?
on the enrollment portal,
Uh-huh,
I don't, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, the honest answer to that. I don't know whether our online enrollment system's that smart,
okay.
to be able to differentiate. Go ahead, Gary.
Go ahead and finish your.
I don't know that the online enrollment system is that smart to differentiate. I suspect not, Brenda. I suspect we're gonna have to communicate directly with those people that, you're, right, this is the published rate and we're gonna take out of your paycheck that plus $50. I think we're gonna have to communicate that directly and separately. I don't think in the 18-day online enrollment, I don't think the Benefit Direct, Celerec site is gonna be able to differentiate. I don't think, maybe it can. That's a great question. We need to ask, Tracy and Jeff. It'd be nice if.
So then our understanding is that Bluegrass Blue Shield will communicate to the district who has and has not received a physical in the given time window.
Yeah, and those I believe are file, because we share, we do weekly file uploads with Benefits Direct, with our payroll system. And that includes Blue Cross and Blue Shield, those file exchanges. And that data is gonna be in of, yes or no on that physician, engagement.
But like currently you don't receive that, right?
No.
Cause I'm gonna guess that might be a little bit of a sticking point with a lot of people. Is that some people may not want their employer to know whether or not they receive a physical, specifically like their name. Like knowing that, you know, 28% of your employees do get a physical every year is, okay, great, whether I'm in that or not, you don't know, whether Danica's in it, that like, you don't know who's in that group, but like if they're giving you a list of names of people that didn't complete their, or did, I don't know which way they're gonna go, then like we're sharing information with our employer that we're currently not sharing health-wise, I guess. That might be a little bit of a.
And Gary, that was, I've been getting some phone calls and that was the premier concern was that we're giving over medical records to.
You're not giving us medical records.
Well, I know, but when something like this comes up, when they don't know.
Right.
That's the first question, their first concern that came to a lot of people's minds.
We're not asking you to upload anything, but, essentially the receipt signed by your physician that says, here's the date you completed the required.
Right, but whether I get a physical or not is technically medical information. So we are asking our staff to share medical information with Bluegrass and Blue Shield that will then be shared with the district. I mean, technically speaking, right? Like, even though it's not gonna say my BMI is this and my blood glucose level was this and my lipid panel was whatever all those numbers, like, I don't even know, right? Like, even though it's not gonna get that specific, like the fact that I got a physical or did not is technically medical information. So like, I mean, I can understand why people are a little concerned about that.
The district would have to know because of payroll deduction. You would see, you would see that difference in here.
But it's not unlike any other current information that an employee would have. If you request family medical leave, you submit medical documentation to HR for any leave that you're requesting. If they go through ADA accommodations because of a medical issue, that's all protected health information. Likewise, anything Blue Cross Blue Shield has on you, or all of us, is protected health information. When they transfer that to the district, that information right now, it's protected health information. So it cannot be released unless you give permission for that. So it's all protected by that protected health information even through the insurance company. Right now, when we do work comp claims and we process work comp payments, we get the medical documentation from somebody who's been injured. payroll and budget gets that information. It's all protected health information that can't be released and only is used for legitimate employer purposes.
Right, I'm not disagreeing, I mean, as a person who's never filed workman's comp, FMLA,
Right.
none of that, right? Like currently the district has none of that information about me specifically. So I'm just saying that I can understand why people, I mean, I can't imagine that that's a large percentage of our staff that file for those things. So I'm just saying that we probably have quite a few staff that I can understand why that seems very stressful to them, that suddenly this personal information is gonna be sent to my employer because they believe that because they've never had to do anything with it before. They've never had to, it seems very different and like disconnected for them, that like, why does my employer need to know whether I get a physical or, like, I can understand where those concerns.
No, it's a very legitimate question, a
Yeah.
very good question that I think as we move forward needs to be addressed so that employees understand that all of your health information related to health insurance, your leave time, it's all protected health information that can only be shared with your permission, but it can be used for what we always call it a legitimate business or education purpose. And it would be protected health information. So the district would have to make sure that the people who see and have access to this information understand, and we have sign off on all of our, when we get even open records requests, from the public, we only allow certain people to have access to certain information, and that number is very limited, because of confidentiality issues. But I think it's an issue, it's a good thing it's been brought up so that we can educate employees, that, your information, health information particularly is protected.
And it's almost kind of the same when people onboard and we do their physicals and TB tests, where all of that is just, it is confidential health file that is not released.
I don't remember having a physical. I did turn in a TB test, I know that. I student taught in the district, so I did before I got hired technically, but I don't remember a physical ever being performed by anyone in the district.
Yeah, we did bioscreens one year. Anybody around?
Oh, that was the Bear Rockets the year we did that too. People were very concerned about that too,
So,
which I assume was part of the reason we stopped doing it that way.
no, it just, again, more directly, physician engagement is what everybody's telling us is moves, what I can tell you, and we have discussed this with our provider, is we're not concerned with who got a physical. We're concerned with who didn't get one. At the end of this next plan year, we're not gonna know, right? We're gonna know who didn't, if they're enrolled in our health insurance. If you didn't enroll, if you're not enrolled in our health insurance, it really don't matter to me whether you get one or not, because you're not in our health insurance plan. But we're gonna be concerned in November, December of 2026 of who was in the group that didn't get one.
Yeah, so two things. Donna brings up a good point about consent to share information. So I assume that there will be a caveat next enrollment year about when you enroll, you are technically giving permission to them to share that information with the district. I assume that will be in the fine print somewhere, and that we'll make sure that people understand that, because I assume by enrolling in Bluegrass and Blue Shield insurance in the district, not this year, but the next year, that I'm agreeing that I either will play this or you are allowed to share that information with them to potentially penalize them.
If that's a concern, we address that. Yeah. Good point.
Okay.
I just got a couple of questions, Gary. I've had some systems that you upload stuff and it was there, and then it comes back and then it isn't there because maybe something timed out or whatever. Can they add like some sort of receipt, like an email receipt saying this has been uploaded and has been applied to your portal or whatever? I think that would be useful, and gives peace of mind for people wanting to make sure they go through this proper steps. And I can also see another question coming. the $600 more per year, which I understand why that's coming from it, but what's that gonna be used for? I mean, is that going to Blue Cross Blue Shield, or is that going to the district, or?
No, I mean,
There's gonna be people asking about it, and I just
Right.
didn't see any answers to that question.
right, well, I mean, what it's gonna do essentially, right, that $50 a month, that if I don't get my physical. Right, and my monthly premium is whatever it's gonna be, a hundred and whatever, it's gonna be 130 plus, it's gonna be 180. Well, the employer share is gonna be reduced by that.
Okay,
I mean, the plan's gonna benefit, right?
Yeah.
The 1,900 people that are in the group, I mean, we're gonna, right, you're just gonna pay a larger share of the total cost.
I figured that was the answer, but
Yeah.
I didn't see anywhere on the literature that was actually part of it, so it
We'll-
might be something to consider.
We're still gonna, right, we still gotta ship Blue Cross and Blue Shield, whatever the total premium is.
Right.
Just the employee is gonna, your cost share is higher.
Sure.
Your cost share is higher.
Did we have a conversation with them at all about taking into account that clearly our loss is gonna go up because more people are, hopefully, more people are using their insurance, so our claims are gonna go up? I mean, significantly, if we really do as well as I hope we do, right? Like, I mean, if you're saying less than 30% of our staff right now get a physical, well, I would hope that 80% is our mark, since that's a pretty
Yeah.
common benchmark
Yeah.
of success, so that's over 50 more percent of our staff that have our insurance, that would then potentially be using that insurance. So has there been a conversation about taking into account that that's
Absolutely.
gonna be a pretty significant, how does that impact then my premiums the next year, I guess?
Yeah. Definitely, we know, right, that in that population, there's gonna be some folks with high sugars and high blood pressure, right? We understand that. So yes, USI, Topeka Public Schools, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield, right, in partnership, understand that. But the thought and what has happened, what we're being told, right, in other groups is you do see a reduction in those large claims, right? Those very, very expensive claims, because in terms of the loss ratio, it's like a lot of things. When you look at the dollars, right? There's kind of that 80-20 where, right, 20% of the claims account for 80% of the dollars. And that's why, right, if you end up needing blood pressure medicine, a lisinopril, I think mine's $15 a month, right? That's not gonna be a huge impact to the plan. But if we catch, you know, something cardiovascular other than that with whatever the screen, or something that may indicate cancer, right? If we can get things at stage 1, stage 2, right? There's a lot of empirical evidence that we're gonna save a lot of money in the plan on emergency room visits and hospital stays. Go ahead.
So just looking back at these observations on that second page of this loss ratio history.
Yeah.
One of the observations is there were large claimants over $175 or $175,000, making up 12.6% of claims. And that typically those high cost claimants are 20 to 35. So if we're looking to save money in that high cost area, it looks like, or at least based on that observation, that's already an area where we're coming in underneath. So I hope we're becoming even farther in underneath.
That's the idea. Yeah.
If we're already underneath what they would consider a usual threshold for that, I'm curious at how direct this would be to answering that problem we already seem to be doing well at, but.
For that period, I can go back 3 periods and show you where we had 30 high cost claims.
Fair enough, fair.
Right, my concern isn't so much about catching, I mean, yes, I am concerned for people's health and I want to catch things early, that's not what I'm saying. But my concern money wise is not, like in the claims area, is not so much the concern that you're gonna go and find out that you are at risk for having you know, you're pre-diabetic or you have a blood pressure issue, like, I'm not so concerned about then having more claims for those things as concerned as I am that, like, we're potentially talking about, I just did the quick math, 52% of our insured employees filing for a physical every year. Like, if we hit our 80%, right, like an additional 52% of those people, like, filing, that's a large cut of our, like, I mean, I don't know how much a physical costs them, because it doesn't have me anyway. Like, I don't know what that costs for them.
Physicals cost you nothing, that is, I, thank you for throwing.
But I just like,
Yeah.
I just want, like, I wanna make sure that, like, that they're gonna factor in the fact that, like, if I suddenly get 52% more of my insured individuals to have a physical, that whatever that X amount dollar is gonna be taken out of the formula when we start talking about loss rates, because they're the ones that really want us to do this. I mean, they're partnering with, I mean, so it's like, if you really want this done, like, that's potentially a big chunk of money that I'm gonna need them to take into account, I guess, when we look at what our premium increase would be the next year, simply because of that cost of just the physical, not all the other things that they potentially will find. Which also can be very pricey, like you said, but I mean, the physical alone has gotta be. Lab work's not cheap. I mean, I would guess a physical probably costs several $100s just in lab work. So I mean, for them, so I just don't know, you know, money wise, what that would mean.
Yeah. And we all, this is, I love health insurance, right? You know, the hospital bills $300 and Blue Cross is gonna pay, you know,
112, yeah,
maybe.
right off 85 of it, you know, yeah.
Right, so I wish, our healthcare world was different in the United States, but it's not. It is the system we have with, and I'm happy for it. We probably have best healthcare in the world, honestly, in terms of gadgets and things. But yeah, again, those were conversations and the cost of that physician visit and those things are you know, with data that shows that could more than be offset with, you know, a high claim, whether it be cancer, cardiovascular, or and we get them periodically, you know, a premature baby is a $1 million claim. I mean, it starts in.
Well, and then I just want to point out too, that I watched the board meeting where this was discussed with the board members. Thank you for that. And they brought up a lot of good points about access to GPs, and I did feel like, to your credit, you guys had some pretty good answers for how you're gonna hopefully, fingers crossed, like provide some extra opportunities for those things and ways that we can partner with like the clinic at Topeka High and things and get some of this. I mean, yeah, so hopefully, like, I know, and there were a lot of ideas that were thrown out there, some of which I think you guys were like, well, I'm not really sure that's realistic. Some of which you were like, yeah, we could probably make that happen on a PD day or something, like. So I just want to make sure that for people who are watching this, that don't typically watch board meetings, that those conversations are happening, because I know that one of the things we hear a lot from people is that finding a doctor that is currently accepting patients can be very difficult sometimes. Especially if you're really stuck on this hospital system, or that, like, if you're really like, I won't go to Stormont, or I won't go to KU Med, or like, then you're stuck kind of with a very limited sometimes amount of physicians that are accepting new patients at the time. And so I just wanted to like let people know that I know you guys are problem solving that and providing some opportunities for that, which is good.
I am so thankful that is an item you brought up, because if there's a single thing about all the things we've talked about in the last 40 minutes, for me, that is the single thing that I'm most concerned about with this. For me, because I just know, right? But I you know, I go every year. I have for a long time because I'm old, you know, decrepit and fat and slow. But I do know that. So I'm concerned about that, and that is something, right? We get some budgets out of the way and negotiations out of the way. We'll hunker down, and because that is something I really want to work on. And the first thing I think we need is an understanding, right? We know that if the ratios hold well, right, 80% of our 2,200 or 1,900 aren't getting physicals. How do we get you know, 1,100-1,200 people, and who do we start reaching out to? And there were ideas kicked out, right? The clinic at Topeka High, but I think we're going to need to reach out. Has left Topeka High. Okay, so there's new information I didn't know. that. So can you shut that down?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna realistically have to reach out to Cotton O'Neill. We run all our work care through there, so that was gonna be my first stop to say, hey, we're implementing this, we need some doctors. How do we help? I don't know whether Grace Med, that's another avenue, and the only reason I know Grace Med is because I helped it, one of our Ukrainian employees, and that's where her little boy, I helped him get established over there. I don't know whether they could help us with annual physicals, but I know it can be difficult, right, to find somebody that'll stick with you. I agree.
And then I just noticed, because I do have the form in front of me, that it does say, and quote, any other age and gender appropriate screening. So I just want to clarify that for those staff members that are female that visit a separate gynecologist from a primary care physician, if you would not be required to have both of those done and signed by both of them. That's not what you mean by that.
It's not what I mean.
That's not what.
Okay, and that wasn't our intent.
I just want to make sure that everybody like out there.
Yeah.
Because I read that and I'm like, well, like, I mean, I know a lot of people are in that situation where those are very separate appointments for them. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that is not what that really means.
Again, I mean, it is, for me, I want this to be not a gotcha, right? It is really keep the focus that with some physician engagement, because we're being told that it does help drive down ultimately, over a term cost. I hope
In the long run, keeps our employees healthy.
healthier, and I hope that we see those results, because we've tried other things and we're not moving the needle. So what I do know is we can do nothing and just hit the cap for the next 3 years and cross our fingers, go out for bid. I promise you, I know what that looks like, and it's not gonna look better from there.
And then, just because we didn't specifically talk about it, back to health insurance in general. The amount that the board paid amount
Mhm.
is not increasing this year, isn't it? I don't know, is that a percentage? I don't really know how that works, I guess. So is that like a percentage of the premium that they pay, so it goes up when the premiums go up, or is that? Like in the contract, it's stated as a fixed number, so I just didn't know how that works.
It is a fixed number, and last year, we'll just, let's go ahead and I'll give it to you. How about we give what, we're proposing, what we're gonna see. Historically, the board, even before the 3-year, current 3-year contract, the board paid was $537, whatever it was, and that kind of stuck, right? That's what the board paid. Rates went up, the employees' portion went up. So this should look a lot like, and I hope explain where we're at and what we're thinking in terms of, that $1 million that we put out on top, that 718, we're gonna build that into the budget moving forward, is that the rates will reflect that. Not a one-time, not an addendum in, because that ended, right? That ended June 30, so rates would have went back. And this is something I promise you, we have stewed over on this side of the table with the rate increases, and that was why I was, trying to be very careful explaining moving forward, right? Those rate increases impact all plans, not just A, B, and C. The board has agreed that we continue over the next 3 years paying 100% of the cost of single D. So we're married to that increase. This year it's about $220,000 that we own it. We agreed to that. we've had migration out of A and B, and quite frankly, we would love to see more migration out of A and B into C and D, where each of the insured, right, are willing to assume some of that first dollar cost, the higher deductible, and save a little money monthly on the premium. I can tell you, on a single A, it makes no sense with that $1,000. It makes no sense to have a single A. It just doesn't. I mean, because if you look at what you pay monthly versus if you ended up even right hitting your deductible, you'd save a couple $1,000 if you move to C. And I know people look at this. I'm not, but just saying what I'd like to see. Not just the certified group, we're gonna share this with administrators and classified, right? Be good shoppers when online enrollment opens up. So what I did was I put the 501 contribution 24-25 that included that additional what we were actually paying for your insurance this plan year, what our contributions are gonna look like for 25-26. Again, what I'm saying with those rates is we're gonna cook that $1 million into the budget. We're just gonna, right? It's not a one-time addendum where I'm moving that out of the health insurance reserve. We're gonna build it in the general fund or wherever you're budgeted, right? Your particular line item for your salary and benefits. I bumped it up a little bit because again, knowing that now D moving forward is going to get the same increase, right? They're not held exempt anymore. They're 8.5. But I wanted to be above where we were last year. So again, and I wanted to level out. We have historically had this $700.61 and right for the employer paid. And it just managing that through monthly on the billing will be a lot easier with whole numbers for us. The other thing is, in my mind, moving forward now that all plans, right, take the same adjustment, doesn't matter whether you're an A, B, or C, that we give you the same amount, that we invest the same amount. If you're gonna do a single, we're gonna give you $600. If you're gonna do a single child, we're gonna pitch in $650, employee spouse $660, and family $700. We're gonna make that uniform. You pick your plan. And no, if I'm a single D, do I get the difference this year between the 600 and the 5? No, you don't, because what I know is next year, if we hit the rate cap, take 11.5% times the 583 premium, we're going to be above $600 in that plan next year. Bulk of our right, and this includes the enrolled data. I think this enrolled data is from May, right? Participants and what plans you could see, lion's share, 1,300 folks are in CND now, because we have had that migration. Majority, right, of our number are single plans. Out of the 1,915 insured, you got 457 in D, 850 in C, 374 in B. And those folks need to look real hard, I think, at C and D this year, and then of course 94 in A, which in a single plan just doesn't make any sense. The folks in single C and single B, again, I just want to re-emphasize with the rate increase of 7.5% last year, because those plans took it, and I'm a single C, right, paying the year before $70+ a month, and this year I've only paid 50, right, something a month, right? But I promise you, we need to explain the single Cs. Health insurance didn't go down last year, I promise you. Overall health insurance went up 7.5%. Guaranteed, it went up. So for our team and our conversation is that we know, that was a one-time amendment in, we're gonna build it, we're gonna make that $1 million commitment to this plan. We know there's gonna be migration into C and D, that's a less expensive plan. We hope there's more of that, because with that, I hope, right, it frees up some budget authority to add some employer pay for the next plan year, right? That we could add more to that single coverage.
Quick question for you, Gary. In the process of encouraging that migration from A and B down to C and D, in the open enrollment package, is there anything like a cost calculator to give people the opportunity to see how much will this cost per month with what expenses to help make that informed decision of if I spend this much, then C and D make more sense?
I gotta be honest with you, again, it's a great question, I'll ask. I don't know that the software that's built in, but what I do know, the counselors, whether you do an online counselor, an in-person counselor, they're gonna be out there and they are gonna be talking about this, and they are gonna be coaching in the buildings, right? That, hey, let's look at this.
Right.
I don't think and I do it, right? I do it, I promise you, I'm the guy will be the 16th of August at 10 o'clock at night. And I do it by myself, right? I haven't had to call the consultant but I spend a lot of time with them throughout the year. But it would be nice, right? If it gave you that, like what's the delta? If over a year, if I spend this much out of my paycheck in premium, and I know I'm gonna hit my deductible, right? What's the cost differential?
Even something, just a static image of this is how much per month you have to pay to make that higher premium worth it.
Yeah.
I think would be a useful metric for people, and do I think I'm gonna be above or below that?
Yeah.
And then be able to move out from there. But
And I think that's something that we can talk with Bob and Jeff, that, right, we wanna do, our intent is to do a good job with that this year. Because again, it's glaring that single plan A probably, and then there's probably some folks that can defend it, probably don't make a lot of sense in that single plan.
Well, and as someone on the committee, A and B are the ones that are costing us the most money. Their loss ratio is the highest out of all four plans consistently,
Consistent, tend to be
like substantial numbers, not just a
Right.
little bit over. It's,
a lot.
those charts are pretty glaring.
They're pretty glaring. And that is, again, I kind of started all this business off with, I think it is gonna be a real effort with certified staff, classified staff, admin, and the folks that are responsible for negotiating the health insurance. We gotta get lean and mean on that committee, and we gotta start really talking about solutions, different solutions outside of where we're at. I have about 1.4, 1.5. We haven't done final cash balances, closed out 25 in our Munis system. We're working on that this week. There's new there. But we've kind of tried to get some dollars over there at some point, because the other option, and going back to your point, Brenda, is we know Blue Cross gets some rebates on those RX, but we can't really get them because we're a fully insured, right? If you're self-insured, and we were self-insured prescription 10 years ago. We may want to look at being maybe the solution is being self-insured. We're self-insured dental, and that's okay. We have about $1.5 million reserve in that dental fund, because you got to have dollars. Because what happens with dental, when I talk about self-insured, is you go to the dentist and they send the bill, and Blue Cross processes it. They process it for us. We pay them an admin fee, but the check comes out of our core first operating account. That charge comes out of our operating account. So if we went self-insured on health insurance, that's how it worked. We pay Blue Cross or we pay whoever, and admin is right. We need somebody that's knows the codes and the billing and right can do that. But when they press the ACH send button, it comes out of our bank account. Now, if I have $1.5 million in reserve for dental, think about what we probably ought to have looking at claims, monthly claims. We're probably going to need upwards of $6-7 million. You know, probably 5 at least in that health insurance reserve fund. So that's got to get built up. If something, I'm not telling you, right, this isn't an announcement. Please don't, at home, don't think this is an announcement at all. What I'm saying is put a pencil to it, because I did with the current rates. And we're trying hard, right, to do the best we can, building things into budget with the other things we gotta, work on. But current claims experience tells me I'm gonna multiply these rates by 11.5% next year. Is what current experience tells me, unless we have a super experience with the physician engagement and people, you know, everybody's doing 5Ks every 2 weekends. And they're right, there's no guarantee of that either, right? Right, there's some of this is, I get it, right, is you can't prevent everything. But what I do know, under the current healthcare system in this country, what we're doing isn't sustainable. And I can tell you, you know, I think our Blue Cross Blue Shield rep works really hard. I mean, I believe it. I think he does work hard. But I don't know that 3-year rate caps are probably something Blue Cross and Blue Shield or any other health insurer in 2028 are going to be interested in negotiating to, unless something changes nationally with our healthcare system and healthcare. And it may, right? I mean, there may be some legislative work on that. Let's hope that we start working on some of that. Yeah.
Gary, you
Yeah.
mentioned that we're hoping maybe some people migrate down to plan C and D. When people have these conferences, when they're setting up during open enrollment, will they encourage or maybe just give people information about a flex medical account since they're going to have a larger deductible? I'm always surprised how many people don't even know that exists.
Again, I want to thank you. She did that all on her own. I didn't set that up. We didn't talk before, but in my heart, right? I mean, flex spending is something I have used, not just at Topeka Public Schools before, when, you know, my 31-year-old was 3. I used the dependent care, but I always had that flex spend account. It's pre-tax, right? Those dollars come out pre-tax on your flex spend medical. If you elect half your deductible or almost your deductible, right? Whatever you think, whether it's $1,000 or $1,500, in my case, $2,800, because I know I'm going to spend it. You can elect that, but that whole amount is available on October 1st. Does that make sense? The dependent care it's a pay as you go, right? You can't turn in a $5,000 daycare receipt and get reimbursed. But you could, I mean, if you elected $2,000 and whatever occurred on October 2nd, that even though we know we didn't collect your $2,000, it's going to take 24 paychecks to do that. In the flex spend medical, it's dollar for dollar available start of the plan year. And that's helpful.
And it alleviates a lot of that stress of having
For
to
me,
pay the medical bill.
Right.
Plus it's pre-tax.
It's pre-tax. It helps your honest to God, it does help your tax, payroll tax. For me, I have weird eyes, and I know every year I'm gonna spend $500 on glasses because glasses are stupid. I don't know, glasses got to be $500, and I don't buy most expensive section of the hike, but glasses are $500 for me. And if I don't have them, I can't. I'm like Mr. Magoo. What'd you say?
Cindy is where it's at. $28, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I would die to.
That includes the lenses.
Yeah, that, okay, she's bragging now. I'll let you try on my glasses. Yeah, you guys are worried if I take off my glasses.
I mean, for my part, these came out of my flexible account, and it was closer to $500, so
Yeah,
I feel,
thank
I
you.
feel where you're coming. Yeah.
I don't even pay that much when I buy them from an eye place in town.
Really?
Sir, come on, you and,
We
we're
are-
gonna buy yours together.
Okay, you and I are gonna go to
Yeah.
Dr. Laura together in October.
I'm gonna help you buy glasses.
All right.
It'll be okay.
I'll buy you a coffee.
With all the extra lines he has.
Any other questions?
You guys brought up some great points and we've got some good notes and we are gonna be talking with USI and Benefit Direct in terms of. Again, it's gonna be, we need to keep it informative, right? We can't tell people, that's, we absolutely can't, tell people, but we can be very informative or try to be as informative as we can. At least say, hey, stop and think about this one. If you're signing up for single A, let's look at this a minute. Hold on. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, right? Maybe you have your own reasons. Again, we can't say, that's dumb, right? We can't do that. But we can certainly provide good information. And we want to, because we need everybody to be good shoppers when they do their benefits this year. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that was a lot of information.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry.
Appreciate it, it's fine. I didn't mean that to sound like we were.
And that was the condensed version.
And it's 11:30. I think we would propose lunch, a little bit of a longer lunch that we can chit chat about this all and make sure that we have numbers to bring back to you for proposals, like actual numbers. Wonderful. That too long?
Brenda, I was wondering if you had any of your proposals ready, just so that we would also have something to review over lunch.
I think we,
Are there any that you know for sure?
yeah, no, I can do that. I actually also, you might wanna write this down, because we didn't bring, we didn't format it because the formatting's all changed.
Right.
Were you?
436.
Just pick it up. Thank you.
And Brenda, I also have our language cleanup.
Oh, okay.
and Formatting and updated version for you to review, so this would be accurate as of, yes.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Um. The other two that we would like you to consider that we didn't format because we were unclear on what the formatting would look like.
Yeah.
We would like to propose a $1,500 per physical therapist increase. So there's two of them, so it would be $3,000 total. My understanding, this is the special education professionals. And then we would also like to consider a supplemental, be added to that same article for the registered nurses who currently don't receive one, and my understanding is that there's two of them in the sped department, and we would ask for $3,000, so 6,000 total.
$1,500 per PT
Mhm,
and 3,000 per RN.
mhm. And then, Danica passed out the Article 26. So we would like to look at. Essentially, in a nutshell, we would like to look at the idea that we know in the elementary school that there are people who are not classroom teachers that are pulled sometimes to cover classrooms when substitutes are not available. Makes sense. In my middle school there, I don't know what happens in other buildings. In my school, they're on the rotation that we have for so many mods a day, right? So you come up every so many, like 6 or 7 people or whatever it is. In the elementary school, currently, there's no language that gives them payment for that time, like it does when we split it, I guess, between other classroom teachers. So we're proposing an increase to the split money a little bit, and then we're proposing adding a level that's simply for that one non-classroom grade level teacher to come in and teach the class for the day. So they would receive some sort of compensation for not being able to do all the things that they would normally be doing during the day, because they're doing that instead. So that's what this language is, and then this language also includes, we would like to look at potentially, we feel like the thing that we hear from people a lot, when they're pulled to cover at a secondary level, the thing that we hear is that they pull them, I mean, in my building, we do a little bit of both, and not in all buildings, but they pull them from collaboration, but then they have to spend their plan time or their after-school plan time or something, making up whatever they missed in collaboration, because what they're doing in collab is important. I mean, I think we all would agree, collaboration time is important. And so we would like to look at compensating people for missing that time, since we do then expect them to make up whatever it is that they missed. So that's kind of all in this one proposal.
Brenda, can I ask, when you refer to staff members, if you could give some examples?
Librarians, counselors.
Oh, sorry, non-classroom. I'm sorry, I was like, which staff members? Yeah, librarians, counselors, anyone who doesn't teach in a grade level, instructional coaches, I think in elementary school that are assigned to those, because they don't have what are they, triads, I think, as we call them in the secondary level, so they're full-time assigned to those buildings. Yes. ma'am. And then Danica is also going to pass out the early retirement sick leave payout proposal, Article 11. So then this is, we are asking for an adjustment in the percentage paid, like the years versus the percentage that's paid, so a little bit of an adjustment there, and then increasing the number of days that they're eligible potentially to be paid for overall.
You want me to make that piece? Okay.
Do you wanna shoot for 1 o'clock? Do we wanna shoot, that'd be just under an hour and a half? Do we want a little bit more time than that?
I'm thinking 1:30.
1:30, okay, 2 hours, yep, sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we are back. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Okay. I think that we are ready to TA Article 38.
Okay,
Do you have a clean copy of that? I wrote on mine.
I have one. Anybody else have a copy
Anyone
of
else?
38 they didn't write on?
Of what? 38.
I didn't write on 38. Got it.
No, today we can just, oh.
We got them.
Okay.
Yeah. I put it, I wrote them. Great.
Oh, and I was the wrong time. Thinking we are coming back at 1.
Oh, it's okay. I'm okay with it if you are.
Okay.
It's on camera.
It's fine. Oh, nice. And we had discussed Article 26. And we will plan to have a counter proposal for you tomorrow morning. That's okay.
Okay,
Article 33. We are agreeable to the $1,500 addition to the physical therapist.
okay,
But would not like to do the 3,000 for the RNs. We have RNs that fall outside of that special education category. In fact, that's where the vast majority of the RNs fall.
right. We just heard from the sped RN specifically because of the caseload that they have in the number of IEPs that they write. So that was why we focused on, we take specials from whoever presents them. So, and they were the ones that were concerned, that came forward with the concern.
And, you know, I think on our end, we're happy to take a look over the course of this year, what those RN caseloads and responsibilities look like so that we are prepared and a little bit more informed on that.
Okay, I can get a hold of my contact and ask them to compile some stuff for you and send it over.
And we will do some work on that as well. So,
I can type up an official document for the PTs for tomorrow for us to sign, so we have something in writing.
sure, I was gonna say we could also take 33, the updated version, and add and make that change.
I can bring it tomorrow, it's okay. And then it'll just be a single sheet.
Okay, and then Article 11 is not something that we feel like we can commit to.
Either piece of it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Nope, good. Either piece of it, like the chart and the number of days increasing.
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell me why you can't commit, just so I can write it down?
Well, I think first of all, an ask like this would take a lot of, research, looking into the data of what would the financial impact of this request be. And at this point, we would choose to focus our money on the base and step increases versus doing this for this year.
Okay.
Yeah. What I whispered to Sarah is, my interpretation of Article 11, and I don't have a historical perspective on this, but it was a real, way probably to reward some longevity, keep folks here, not speed up the amount of time we could kick you out with some sick leave built up. And I'm not sure if it's in our best interest to shorten that runway and increase the percentages of sick leave payout.
Okay. I wanna backtrack quite a ways if that's okay, I'm sorry. You gave me that document about the federal laws and stuff,
Yes.
that relates to the Article 9 grievance procedure language that we talked about in June. I just wanna make sure that I understand, cause I don't know where in this, like, if I wanted to, I mean, if I needed to file a grievance about my sick leave, for, like, let's use that as an example, where would that fall in here? As being like protected under this? The document that you gave me about retaliation against employees
Yes,
under
that,
the statutes and stuff, I'm just trying to figure out like. Where something that is like, if I filed a grievance about a contractual issue like my sick leave, for example, where would that? Like, where in this is the protection? I don't see that, so I'm just trying to make sure that I understand.
help. Let me clarify. So I was under the impression that your concern about retaliation was if any grievance was filed, then there would be consequences that the employee would experience because they filed the grievance. And so our response was from Ms. Whiteman that that is covered under employment law. So I guess I was thinking it wouldn't matter what the context of the grievance was, that it would just be if you file a grievance, there can't be retaliation as a result of that. Am I tracking correctly?
I just don't, that's not,
Or is
I guess
that
that's
not
where I
what you were intending?
no, I agree. I'm just trying to give a specific example of like something that I would potentially, or another staff member would potentially file a grievance under that potentially would not be covered by what I'm looking at here. So I'm just trying to figure out if I'm just missing it, because this doesn't say anything that I file a grievance about. That's not what this says. So I'm just trying to figure out if I'm just missing the language in the statute that says that, or if it's that there would be things that potentially someone could file a grievance about that's not covered under this that I was provided. And one of the examples I came up with was like this use of like using my sick leave, for example. I don't know where that would fall under here if I filed a grievance about that.
Under the federal laws and the State Department of Labor laws, the any rights that are set forth for the employee, they have a right to complain. In fact, under our board policy, we have a complaint policy, and then we have a no retaliation for any complaints that are filed. So it would all fall under that labor law, and which our policy, board policy reflects.
Do we know the board policy number, anybody by chance?
Um,
I can look it up, I guess. On the website.
I remember the KASB is KN, but
Yeah, I know, that's,
we have a numbers or a number system, so.
so is it the, are you thinking the employment discrimination complaints or?
Well, that's one, but go back, go into the 2000 series. There is a complaint process also. There are about 3 or 4 complaint procedures.
2050,
2050.
2050.
yeah, which would be under the state would be under, it would be KN.
And the others, I think, would be in the 4,000.
Yeah, under.
That apply to all boards.
That came back to that, which starts with 40, 60, 40, 65. And that starts getting into a whole bit of complaints or
The complaint procedures, right?
Well, either my Google's not working today, or I just don't know what I'm doing, because I can't find that, so can someone send me a link to that?
The,
On the
2050.
board policies.
Yeah, my computer for some reason is not sending it, so Dan has got it for me, thank you. I can't seem to get it to show up, sorry.
And you mentioned some in the 400 or the 4,000s, what were those numbers?
Yeah, let me go back. 4,000 hits into some of the ones that fall under, like the 4060, and that gets into more with the discrimination and complaints, 4065, discrimination and harassment. Most of it's gonna fall under that 2,000 is what, when you look at it. Because that has several categories. It's also got discrimination. Complaints on policy, about policy or curriculum. About instructional materials, facilities and services, that personnel, so pretty much that one's.
Right, it's a general complaint.
Complaints, well, and they changed that, I know at the state level, because I just dealt with that, where, they had changed out grievance and called it complaints. Like it used to have its subcategory, and I can find that. And they removed that language at KSB did. So instead of it being a separate.
Well, complaints is certainly a broader term. than
Yeah,
Grievance,
than
grievance
grievance
is a
for us.
very narrow term, but,
And you're saying,
anytime an employee files a complaint, whether it's a grievance complaint or whatever, there is in federal and state laws, there is a non-retaliation through case law and interpretation that as a public employee, everyone has a right to complain and file complaints, and there can be no retaliation after a complaint is filed.
And what statute is that covered in?
Well, it's not a specific statute, it would be all of those, the list of all the state and federal laws, it would apply to all of those laws that, it's like filing for, if you file for a Family Medical Leave Act, can't retaliate against somebody, for the filing. If you file work comp, you can't, the laws states you can't retaliate. It's just such a common, it's a common employer prohibition, no retaliation. Everyone, the whole goal is to solve problems up front. In fact, the complaint process has informal procedures so that it can get resolved. But the bottom line is once it's addressed, there can be no retaliation against any employee who files a complaint or grievance or concern.
I guess that is where I came to when I was trying to use this specific example. Is because like, I don't see anything on here that says you can file any complaint you want and we can never discriminate. Like against you or retaliate against you for that reason, so that's where I'm like, these are all very specific examples, so I'm just like, there are things in my contract that I could potentially grieve that aren't on this list. So that's where I'm trying to figure out, like, where does the language say that any complaint or grievance or whatever that I file against my employer, like, as covered under my negotiated agreement, like, how does that, where is that says no matter what that's about, that I'm covered under this, because that's not at all how I read this, so that's why I'm concerned.
I was saying, I'm not along those lines, like reading 2050, I don't see anything in here that says.
If you look at Article 8, it is basically a bullying, but it says the board will continue its policy of not discriminating against any professional employee on the basis of person's race, sex, color, ancestry, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity or expression, age, religion, disability, political affiliation, or status as a veteran, or membership or participating in, including their participation in any grievance, complaint, or proceeding as set forth in this agreement, or association with the activities of any professional employee organization. But that's the type of language that is with all the state and federal laws that we provided the list, that there is no there's no discrimination or retaliation or filing or complaining or bringing forth a concern, even at the building level. And then it goes on to say all professional employees are public servants, which we all are, and should enjoy a non-hostile, non-intimidating, non-offensive work environment free from discriminatory harassment, retaliation, or any other forms of unlawful discrimination. So if you bring forth a complaint and then there is retaliation, or an individual thinks that there's retaliation because they made the complaint, then this would cover all of those situations.
Okay. Okay. So we'll need time to dig into that. Cool, thank you for that. I just was like, I don't see it, so. Appreciate it. We didn't really finish our conversation about health insurance and compensation and things like that. It kind of evolved into a whole conversation and then we went and ate lunch real quick and came back. So we just need some more time for that, I think, as a team to talk. So I don't know if you guys are ready to present your, I can't come up with the article off the top of my head, your sick leave. Thank you, yeah. If you're ready to present that, and then we can break for the day and we can go back to caucus for a couple of hours, or.
Yes, are you planning to put something on 36 around the EL addendum?
We haven't finished that. That's the conversation I'm talking about. We haven't finished that conversation yet. Yes.
Then we are ready for. As you know, the district has been very selective in anything that we have put on the table, particularly the last couple of years. I think last year, not coming with anything other than working on salary. So we have been tracking and monitoring data around sick leave and the usage of subs for the last couple of school years. And I would like to share with you some data around our Monday and Friday certified absent rates. Friday, October 13th of 23, we had 201 certified absences. Monday, the 30th, we had 241. Friday, the 3rd, we had 209. Going into 2024, February 12th, it was a Monday, we had 211 absences. That Friday, we had 207. In May of 24, we had 210 on one Friday, 202 on another Friday. Going into this year, we continue to have Mondays and Fridays, particularly Fridays, where absences were hovering in the 190 to 200 range. So that really has prompted us to make this ask. So we will.
And that, just to clarify, that hovering around the 190 number is certified only? And does that include people that are like out on like long-term FMLA or like leave, like potentially like maternity leave, for example, or like a long-term disability leave or something?
Yes, and
Is it a
then I also have it broken down into like, how many were like the last minute.
Okay.
Come on, big.
We're reading it, so that's time.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, wait, no, I need that first page.
Sarah, you can tell me this, it should be 4.
Wow, Mary.
Oh, okay. I have here's a page one that you just gave me here.
Man, don't send me to do this every year. This is why I was never called on those.
Yours was stable, so that's.
Yeah, mine was stable. You say that loud, please.
Hey.
That's the difference between business office and education department. Well, we're not afraid to use a statement.
Any might.
Somebody who we is missing.
I'm just gonna hand them out, and you guys take what you want, look at
I'm missing the top.
it.
I'm missing the first page, so I need that.
It should be 4.
As long as mine's right, it's fine.
Yours is right.
I'm missing a page. Yeah, I got paid. I got 4 pages. So I mean, you did okay by the end.
Here's a random top.
Gary, you maybe be the top.
I have one page.
You just have 1 page still?
I do.
Gary, this is a great deal.
Give me that. Back.
Gary, 4 pages to hand out.
Hey, alright.
Everybody stay.
Everybody satisfied?
All right, is everybody looking at a page that says Article 43 at the top?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a whole set.
Oh, you got a whole set.
I do.
We have an extra set.
Okay, thank you.
Fine.
And here's the random top.
Those were 3. Watch that.
Like the news area. Okay. Really, focusing on that conditions of use, number 2. You can see new or adjusted language on C, D, and E. But D and E, we took number 4 and moved it up to the list. There were also portions of number 4 that were not current. Where it talks about, every such day of absence will result in a deduction of 2 sick day leaves. That was not a practice that was used, and we added, in a day of pay reduction. Up there under E. And then as part of that language cleanup, on page 2. Moving to a table.
I just want to clarify that E. If they take personal leave for something that doesn't involve a doctor. A licensed physician, I guess is the term that's used. What would they do?
That would be, if they're calling in on one of the dates that's not eligible for personal leave.
But calling in for sick leave. Not, okay, I read that as personally, okay,
Yes.
never mind, I understand now.
And again, that was in for previously, we just moved it up the list.
Letter D, after 2 days of professional development, is that supposed to be day or days? Like if it's 2 professional development days or just 2 days in a row, one of them being a professional development day?
It would be if you had been sick on 2 professional development days.
Okay.
After 2 days on a professional development day. You called in October, and then you called in again in January.
One question I had.
Okay, we can talk about that. And then I will also have that PT thing for you tomorrow in the morning.
And we will have the counter proposal on Article 26.
And then we will also talk about. We'll be prepared to talk about the rest of the compensation stuff tomorrow too. We'll finish that conversation. Okay.
Which is, the only thing we haven't heard is EL, correct?
I mean, and then yeah, like just generally, yeah. I think that's the only thing that's in the notice letter we have, yeah.